Story 1. Family only in this chat. They said removing me later. Why were our vacation flights canceled? Oh, I only share my airline employee discounts with my family. I texted back. They kicked me out of the family group chat, then wondered why their flights got canceled. The notification came while I was reviewing flight manifests at JFK. You have been removed from Fleming Family Chat by admin Derek Fleming. No warning, no explanation, just digital excommunication from the family I've been part of for 12 years. I stared at my phone, then at my computer screen showing my Delta employee portal, Senior Operations Manager Level 7, with booking privileges most people didn't even know existed. The same privileges I'd been using to handle my family's travel for over a decade. Another notification. Derek Fleming added you to important family info. The new chat had everyone except me. I could see it in the participant list. Before being removed, my husband Tom, his parents, his 3 siblings, their spouses, even my brother-in-law's girlfriend of 6 months, everyone but me. The only message before my removal, family only. In this chat, discussing mom and dad's 50th anniversary trip to Hawaii. No need to involve outsiders. Outsiders. After 12 years of marriage, 2 kids, and countless family gatherings, I was an outsider. Tom texted privately, "Honey, Derek's being dramatic about the divorce stuff. You know how he is." I did know Derek, my brother-in-law, was getting divorced and had decided anyone who still spoke to his ex was choosing sides. I'd made the fatal error of answering when she called about their daughter's birthday party. "It's fine," I texted back, though my hands were shaking. It wasn't fine, but they figured that out in about 6 weeks. I pulled up our family travel spreadsheet, the one I'd maintained for years. Every flight, every upgrade, every companion pass, everybody pass. Meticulously tracked the Hawaii trip. Was there 15 tickets for the second week of March 1st? Class upgrades already waitlisted through my employee priority hotel, employee rates through our partnership program, even the inter-island flights on Hawaiian Airlines using my reciprocal benefits. Total savings for the family, approximately $35,000. I archived the spreadsheet and closed it. "Marina, you okay?" My colleague James looked concerned. "You're doing that scary quiet thing." "I'm fine. Just some family drama. The in-laws again. I swear you do too much for those people." He had no idea. For the next 3 weeks, I watched the important family info chat from Tom's phone when he wasn't looking. They were planning everything: restaurants, activities, matching t-shirts. Derek had appointed himself trip coordinator, collecting money for deposits and shared expenses. Got us a great deal on the flights. He announced $400 each round trip. My travel agent friend hooked us up. I almost choked on my coffee. Those were my employee buddy passes. He was talking about the ones I'd already arranged, and he was now claiming credit for, don't forget, the hotel discount, added Sheila. My mother-in-law, my co-worker's daughter, works for the Marriott and got us 20% off. That was my employee rate through Delta's partnership program, 60% off, not 20%, but sure, let's go with that. Tom looked at me nervously. "You're still handling the actual bookings, right? I know Derek's being an ass, but am I family, Tom?" "Of course you are." "Then why am I not in the family chat?" "That's just Derek being, it's your parents' anniversary. Are they okay with me being excluded from the planning?" His silence was answer enough. "I'll handle what I've already committed to." I lied smoothly. The buddy passes were already in the system. They weren't. Buddy passes have to be activated by the employee, and I hadn't done it yet. But Tom didn't know that 2 weeks before the trip, the text started. "Sheila, hi sweetheart. Quick question about the flights. Do we need to do anything special to check in?" I didn't respond. Tom's sister. "Karen, hey, the hotel is asking for an employee ID number for the rate. Can you send?" Silence Derek's wife, Michelle, who was supposedly neutral in the divorce drama. "Marina, can you check if we can upgrade to first class?" Derek said. "You might have connections." Nothing. Finally, Tom confronted me. "You're getting the text right about the trip." "What trip?" "The Hawaii." "Marina, come on, don't be petty." "I'm not being petty. I'm respecting the family's wishes." Derek made it clear. "I'm not family." I assumed that meant they didn't want my help with family matters. You know, that's not what anyone meant then. They should have thought about that before removing me from the family chat. I pulled up the screenshot I'd saved. See family only. Very clear. The panic started 5 days before departure. Delta's system shows buddy passes as pending until the employee activates them. The family had been checking in online, seeing their reservations, assuming everything was fine. Then Derek tried to change his seat. "What do you mean the reservation isn't ticketed?" I heard him screaming through Tom's phone. "I have a confirmation number." Tom looked at me. "Marina?" "Yes, the flights. They're not actually booked." "I have no idea. I'm not in the family chat. Remember? I assumed Derek's travel agent friend was handling it, the one who got him such a great deal. Marina, please, my parents, your parents, who haven't said a single word about me being excluded from planning their anniversary celebration. This is serious. We're supposed to leave in 5 days. Then you should probably talk to Derek's travel agent." The family group chat, the one I wasn't in, exploded. Tom left his phone on the counter and I watched the messages roll in. "Derek, the airline says we have pending employee passes that were never activated. What does that mean? Sheila Marina handles our flights. Someone ask her." Derek, "I thought my friend booked these through his agency." Karen, "No. You said you were handling it, but Marina had already set up employee passes." Derek, "Well, I can't activate employee passes. I don't work for Delta." Michelle, "Just call Marina." Derek, "No. She chose Diane's side in the divorce. She's not family anymore." Sheila, "Derek Fleming, you removed her from our family chat." The cascading realizations were beautiful to watch, like dominoes falling. Each family member suddenly understanding that their $400 buddy passes required an actual Delta employee to activate. Their hotel reservations were tied to an employee ID. Their meticulously planned, deeply discounted vacation was entirely dependent on the outsider they'd excluded. Tom's phone rang. His mother put Marina on. Mom put Marina on. I took the phone. "Hello, Sheila, sweetheart. There seems to be some confusion about the flights. Oh, I thought Derek's travel agent was handling everything. I didn't want to overstep, not being family and all." Silence. "You know your family." "Do I?" "Because family members are usually included in family planning. I must have misunderstood when I was removed from the group chat. That was Derek being foolish. That was Derek being Derek and everyone else being fine with it, including you and Bill." More silence. "Can you fix the flights? Can I? Yes. Will I? That depends on what, on whether I'm family or an outsider, because I use my employee benefits for family. I help family." Story 2. My husband divorced me to marry my sister, and 4 years later he looked at the child standing behind me and was suddenly shocked. The child was a mini version of him, but called his archenemy Dad. My sister had just returned to the country when my husband handed me a divorce agreement saying our marriage was over. My heart felt like it was being torn apart, but I signed it through the pain. Then, carrying his child, I married his archenemy. 4 years later, he looked at the kid, a mini version of himself, calling his rival Dad. His eyes turned red. The pregnancy test showed 2 lines. Before I could be happy, David threw a piece of paper in my face. "Cherry, let's get a divorce. Sign this agreement, and I'll give you an extra $20 million. I looked at the well-dressed, cold-faced man in front of me and couldn't nod. David was getting impatient. When we got married, we signed a contract. Our marriage term is 3 years. It ends in 1 month. If you don't agree now, the contract will end automatically in a month. But then you won't get a dime of the extra $20 million. I took a deep breath. "David, what if I told you I was pregnant?" I admit I was desperate. Even at this point, I was trying to use the child to keep David. David's family didn't have many heirs, so for the kid's sake, maybe he'd give up the divorce. But David's next words chilled me. "I had a vasectomy. The kid can't be mine." My mouth opened, but no sound came out. David was my only man. If it wasn't his, whose was it? When someone doesn't believe you, any explanation is useless. David left. I stared blankly at the divorce agreement. My marriage to David was messy. 3 years ago, the one supposed to marry David was my sister. But she left the country close to the wedding to chase true love. To keep the cooperation between our families, my family had me marrying her place. David's family agreed for the sake of face. I had a crush on David for 7 years, so I didn't refuse. The only unwilling person was David. I didn't know what other people's wedding nights were like. On mine, David tossed me a contract. The same 3-year marriage contract. After 3 years, no matter my wishes, the marriage would end automatically. I felt lost and pained at the time, but I didn't give up. I thought if I treated David well, he'd warm up to me. My sister was abroad and I was by his side. One day he'd see my worth. For 3 years I cared for him meticulously. He had stomach issues. I studied recipes. He had headaches and trouble sleeping. I learned acupuncture. In hindsight, I was too naive. Who would fall for a nanny? Forget it. We were just torturing each other. I trembled trying to sign the divorce papers. Suddenly my phone rang. It was my mom. "Cherry, your sister is back. She's on the afternoon flight tonight. Come home with David for a family dinner." My mom sounded unusually happy. I spoke my voice hoarse. "Why did she come back suddenly?" My mom said, "I always felt that guy was no good. But your sister insisted on marrying him." Sure enough, after they married, his true nature showed. "He fooled around with other women even when your sister was pregnant, leading to her miscarriage. She's back, so she must have figured it out. That's good, right? Don't bring up the past when you see her. Don't upset her." My mom's voice droned on, but I wasn't listening anymore. I suddenly realized why David was so eager for a divorce. Jane was back. My head spun, flooding with strange thoughts. I felt like I was living in a book. Jane was the main character, and I was the supporting role. I fell for David and married him, but gave up when the heroine returned later. Jane couldn't have kids. I gave up my child to them, and watched them live as a happy family. I was shocked. Was I losing my mind? In that moment, I realized I no longer loved David. I put down the pen, refusing to sign. Why should I step aside just because Jane's back and let them have their happy ending before the divorce? I'd make them uncomfortable. I'd be a villainous supporting character. I took a cab to Cherry's house. David and Jane arrived together. Jane looked more worn out compared to 3 years ago. Not as lively, but still she was the center of attention wherever she went. Dad and Mom surrounded her with concern. It had rained. Jane was dry, but David's sleeve was wet. I could imagine he had sheltered her under the umbrella, letting the rain drench him. With David, he always walked ahead while I followed. People can't compare, right? I pushed down my disappointment and walked to David, worried. "Honey, how did your clothes get wet?" I clung to David's arm affectionately. James' gaze shot over her, eyes vacant. David tried to pull away, but I hugged him tight. "Your clothes are wet. You'll catch a cold. You're the backbone of the company. You can't get sick. Let's go upstairs and change." Watching the vein pulse on his forehead, I could see his struggle to maintain his composure, but still preserving his image as a husband. He followed me upstairs. The moment we were in the room, he shoved me away. "Stop clinging to me. You're my husband. Why can't I hang on to your arm?" David took a deep breath. "Did you sign the divorce agreement?" "No, I'm pregnant. I told you I had a vasectomy. Are you sure the doctor didn't scam you? You're the only man I've been with these 3 years. Don't try to weasel out of it," I said coldly. David looked at me with a livid face. "Cherry, what happened to you? For the past 3 years, I'd always been the perfect wife and mother in front of David, gentle and considerate, always listening to him. He had never seen me this harsh and prickly. In reality, the gentle and considerate me was just a facade. I'm the type who never lets things go. If I can't make him fall for me, I'll make sure he bleeds. I need to make up for these years of humility and pain. I folded my arms and looked at him. What's wrong with me? At least I'm better than someone who doesn't even recognize his own trousers. David was so angry he couldn't even speak. Downstairs, I reverted to being gentle. I sat next to David, acting cute. "Honey, I want some fish, but it's too far. Can you get it for me?" "Honey, my water's empty. Get me more, please." I kept bossing David around. David and Jane both looked upset. Maybe Jane realized that the guy who used to follow her around is now someone else's husband. Jane made an excuse about being tired and went upstairs. Halfway through dinner, David couldn't take it anymore and went to the bathroom. "Cherry, your sister just went through a breakup. Acting like that with David might upset her." My mom scolded me quietly. I almost laughed. This family has always revolved around Jane. When Jane ran away, they made me marry in her place, never caring about my happiness. Now that Jane's back, she's all they care about. They don't think there's anything wrong with my husband being nice to Jane. Jane is like the main character of this world. And with her around, I'm always just a background character. No one cares about me. No one thinks about me. I should have been used to it by now. I lifted my head, hiding the sadness in my eyes with a pitiful look. I said, "Mom and Dad, I'm pregnant. That's why." Before I could finish, I suddenly heard the sound of a glass breaking. Raising my head, I saw Jane standing empty-handed, her face filled with shock. David ran out of the bathroom, grabbed my hand, and rushed us out. Back home, David glared at me furiously. "I really am pregnant. Isn't it worth mentioning?" Ignoring David's murderous glare, I went to the bathroom. Recalling Jane's shock and David's anger, I suddenly felt a strange satisfaction. Maybe I do have a knack for playing the villainess after all. The next day, I slept in until it was bright outside. It was already 8 now. I walked out of the bedroom and saw David sitting on the sofa, looking furious. David's a really picky guy, even with his coffee. Normally, I'd prep his breakfast and coffee for him, but now I didn't feel like catering to him sleeping and felt great. "Hungry?" I asked. David didn't answer, but his stomach growled, "I'll order some food." David looked at me in disbelief. Before the delivery arrived, David slammed the door and left. I couldn't help but give myself a thumbs up. Good thing I didn't order for him. In the afternoon, while getting a spot treatment, I got a call from David's assistant, Cherry. The company cafeteria food doesn't suit David's tastes, so he hasn't eaten. Oh, right. I always took care of his lunch, too. Over the years, I've spoiled him with my cooking. Anything else he barely touches. Don't worry. When he's starving, he'll eat. In the evening, I suddenly received a message. It was a picture sent by Jane. The man in the photo with the high nose bridge and sharp profile was David. She quickly retracted it. "Sorry, wrong send." Jane texted. Story 3. My childless sister-in-law demanded I be her surrogate for free because family helps family. But when I said no, she convinced my husband to divorce me and take half my business. I never thought my own family would try to destroy my life over a baby. But here I was, 28 years old, successfully running my own bakery and facing the most insane demand I'd ever heard. "Sarah, you have to understand this from my perspective," my sister-in-law Rebecca said as she sat across from me in my kitchen, her perfectly manicured hands wrapped around a coffee mug I'd made for her last Christmas. Her voice carried that sweet, manipulative tone she used when she wanted something but was pretending to be reasonable. My husband, Michael, sat beside her, nodding along like some kind of trained seal, while Rebecca's husband, David, looked uncomfortable but stayed quiet. At 35, Rebecca had been trying to conceive for 5 years with David, and multiple rounds of IVF treatments and fertility drugs had left them emotionally drained and financially stressed. But what they were asking of me was completely insane. "You don't understand what it's like," Rebecca continued, her voice trembling with practiced emotion. "Every month hoping and praying, only to have my heart broken again. The doctors say my uterus can't carry a baby to term, but my eggs are fine. This is my only chance at biological motherhood, Sarah. And you're young and healthy, and you've already proven you can carry a baby successfully." She was referring to my miscarriage 2 years ago, which had been devastating for Michael and me. But apparently Rebecca saw it as proof that I was fertile and therefore should be her personal incubator. "Rebecca, I'm sorry for what you're going through, but I can't be your surrogate. It's too much to ask." Michael finally spoke up, and his words hit me like a slap. "Come on, Sarah. It's not like we're asking you to give up your own baby. You'd just be helping my sister have hers. Think about how much this would mean to her. And David." I stared at my husband of 4 years, trying to figure out when he'd lost his mind. "Michael, this isn't like lending someone a cup of sugar. You're asking me to carry a baby for 9 months, go through pregnancy, labor and delivery, and then hand over a child that's huge, both physically and emotionally. Rebecca's tears started flowing harder. Sarah, please, I'm begging you. We can't afford another round of IVF or a professional surrogate. The insurance doesn't cover it and we've already spent our savings. Your family and family helps family. David finally spoke up, looking embarrassed. Rebecca, maybe we should think about this more. Sarah's right. It's a big ask. But Rebecca turned on him with fury. Don't you dare back down now, David. We talked about this. Sarah is our only option unless you want to stay childless forever. I felt sick watching this whole scene play out in my kitchen. Rebecca, I understand you're desperate, but what you're asking isn't fair. The health risks alone are significant. And then there's the emotional toll of carrying a baby and giving it up. But it wouldn't really be giving it up, Michael said, and I could tell Rebecca had been coaching him. You'd still be the aunt. You'd get to watch the baby grow up and be part of its life. That would make it harder, not easier, I said incredulously. Michael, how can you not see how messed up this whole idea is? Rebecca stood up suddenly, her tears stopping like someone had flipped a switch. Fine, Sarah. I can see you're too selfish to help family. I just hope you can live with yourself knowing you destroyed my only chance at motherhood. After they left, Michael and I had our first real fight in years. He couldn't understand why I wouldn't just help his sister. And I couldn't believe he thought it was reasonable to volunteer my body for 9 months without even asking me first. She's desperate, Sarah, he kept saying, and it's not like it would cost us anything. They'd pay for all the medical expenses. It would cost me everything. I shot back, my body, my health, my emotional well-being. And what about our own plans to try for a baby again soon? Michael went quiet at that. We've been talking about trying to conceive. Again, after taking time to heal from the miscarriage. But apparently, he'd forgotten about our own family plans in his rush to help his sister. Over the next few weeks, Rebecca launched a full campaign to change my mind. She started showing up at my bakery during busy periods, making scenes about her infertility and how I was her only hope. She'd cry loudly about wanting to be a mother while my customers looked on uncomfortably. Sarah, sweetie, she said during one particularly dramatic performance, I know you understand loss. Remember how devastating your miscarriage was. Imagine feeling that loss every single month for 5 years. That's my life. Using my miscarriage as emotional manipulation was a new low, even for Rebecca. But it worked on some level because I started doubting myself. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe family really should help family, no matter what. Rebecca also started bringing Michael's whole family into it. His mother, Patricia, called me crying about how Rebecca was like a daughter to her and how much she wanted grandchildren. His father, Frank, took a more direct approach, telling me I was being stubborn and unreasonable. Rebecca's not asking you to give up a kidney, he said during one uncomfortable family dinner. She's asking you to help her have a baby. It's a beautiful thing. It's not that simple. I tried to explain, but nobody wanted to hear it. The worst part was watching Michael get pulled deeper into their manipulation. He started reading articles about surrogacy and sending them to me, highlighting parts about how rewarding it could be. He bought books about the beauty of helping other families and left them strategically around our house. Look, Sarah, he said one evening, showing me his laptop screen. This woman says being a surrogate was the most meaningful thing she ever did. She helped create a family. Michael, that woman chose to be a surrogate. She wasn't pressured into it by her husband's family, and she was probably compensated fairly for it. Rebecca said, they'd pay you something. Michael said defensively, how much? I asked, curious about what they thought my body and 9 months of my life were worth. Michael shifted uncomfortably. Well, they're pretty broke from all the fertility treatments, but they mentioned maybe a few $1,000s. I laughed bitterly. Professional surrogates get $30,000 to $50,000. Michael, your sister thinks I should do it for a few thousand because we're family. That's when I realized this wasn't really about family helping family. This was about Rebecca finding the cheapest possible way to get a baby and manipulating everyone into thinking I owed her my body because we shared a last name through marriage. But Michael was too deep in the fog to see it. Money shouldn't matter when it comes to family, he said. Besides, think about how happy this would make Rebecca and David and my parents. Everyone would be so grateful. What about making me happy? I asked. What about respecting my bodily autonomy and my right to say no? Michael looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. The man I'd married, who used to be my biggest supporter, had somehow become Rebecca's advocate instead of mine. Things came to a head when Rebecca showed up at my bakery with a folder full of medical information and what looked like a contract. I had my lawyer draw this up, she said, sliding papers across my counter while customers waited for their coffee and pastries. I glanced at the documents and felt my stomach drop. It was a surrogacy agreement that gave Rebecca and David complete control over my medical care during pregnancy, including what I could eat, where I could go, and what activities I could do. Rebecca, this is insane, I said quietly, trying not to make more of a scene. You want to control my entire life for 9 months. I want to protect my baby, she said firmly. These are standard provisions, Sarah. You'd have to follow a strict diet, no alcohol, no caffeine, limited travel, and regular check-ins with me about how you're feeling your baby, I said, the words hitting me like ice water. Rebecca, if I were to carry this baby, which I'm not saying I will, it would be growing inside my body. I'd be the one dealing with morning sickness and weight gain and all the physical effects, but genetically, it would be mine, and David's. She insisted you just be the carrier. The casual way she reduced me to an incubator made my decision crystal clear. Rebecca, I'm not signing this and I'm not being your surrogate. Please leave my bakery. Her mask dropped completely then, and I saw pure rage. You selfish witch, she hissed. You have everything, a successful business, a husband who loves you, and you can't spare 9 months to help someone who has nothing? I have nothing, I said incredulously. Rebecca, you have a husband who adores you, a beautiful home, a successful career, and parents who would do anything for you. You don't have nothing just because you don't have a baby. But she was already storming out, leaving the contract on my counter and my customers staring at me in shock. That night, Michael came home acting strange. He was quiet during dinner and kept checking his phone, which wasn't like him. When I asked what was wrong, he said Rebecca had called him crying about our conversation at the bakery. She said you were cruel to her. He said that you called her worthless for not having children. That's not what happened, Michael. And you know, Rebecca twists things when she doesn't get her way. But I could see doubt in his eyes. Rebecca had gotten to him first with her version of events, and he was choosing to believe her over me. Over the next few days, Michael became increasingly cold and distant. He started working late, and when he was home, he barely spoke to me. When I tried to bring up what was happening between us, he'd just say he needed time to think. The truth came out when I came home early from the bakery one day and found Michael on the phone in our bedroom. I heard him saying, I know, Rebecca. You're right. She's being completely unreasonable about this whole thing. When he saw me standing in the doorway, he quickly hung up, but it was too late. I'd heard enough to know he'd been discussing our private marriage issues with his sister, who was probably loving every minute of the drama she created. How long have you been talking to Rebecca about our relationship? I asked. Michael looked guilty, but tried to deflect. She's family, Sarah. She's concerned about us. She's concerned about getting what she wants, I corrected. And apparently you're helping her manipulate me into changing my mind. Nobody's manipulating anyone, Michael said, but he couldn't look me in the eyes. Rebecca just made some good points about family loyalty and sacrifice. What points exactly? Michael sat down heavily on our bed. She said that in a real marriage, spouses support each other's families, that if you really love me, you'd want to help my sister. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. And what did you say to that? I said, I talked to you again about reconsidering. Michael the First already said no. Multiple times. Why isn't that enough? He finally looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before in his eyes, disappointment in me. Because, Sarah, it's not just about you. This affects our whole family. I'm your family, I said desperately. I'm your wife. I should be your priority, not Rebecca's feelings. But Michael shook his head. You're being dramatic, Sarah. Nobody's asking you to choose between me and Rebecca. Actually, that's exactly what's happening, I said. And you've already chosen her. The final blow came 2 weeks later when I discovered Michael had been meeting with a divorce lawyer. I found the business card in his wallet when I was looking for our insurance information to take to my doctor's appointment. When I confronted him about it, he didn't even try to deny it. Sarah, this isn't working, he said calmly, like he was discussing the weather. We want different things. We want different things, I repeated. Michael, 2 months ago we were happy. We were planning to try for a baby. The only thing that's changed is your sister's demands. That's not true, he said. But again, he couldn't look at me. This whole situation has shown me that we have different values about family and sacrifice. You mean it's shown you that I won't let your sister use my body as an incubator? Michael's face hardened. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You make everything sound so ugly and selfish when Rebecca is just trying to have a family at my expense. I said, Michael, can't you see how manipulative this whole thing is? Your sister created a problem in our marriage where none existed before. But Michael was too far gone. Rebecca didn't create anything, Sarah. She just helped me see who you really are. The divorce proceedings were swift and brutal. Michael's lawyer argued that since my bakery had grown significantly during our marriage, he was entitled to half its value. The bakery I'd started from scratch with my own recipes and my own money was suddenly considered marital property. I had to hire my own lawyer with money I couldn't afford to spend. Linda Martinez was a tough woman in her 50s who'd seen every kind of divorce drama imaginable. Your husband's being advised by someone who knows exactly how to hurt you, she told me after reviewing Michael's demands. Going after your business is about more than money. It's about control. He wants to punish me for not being Rebecca's surrogate. I said, that's my guess too. Linda agreed, but we can fight this. The business predates your marriage, and you can prove you put in all the work to grow it. The legal battle dragged on for months, during which time I had to keep running my bakery while dealing with the stress of losing my marriage and potentially my livelihood. Michael moved in with Rebecca and David temporarily, which told me everything I needed to know about who was really behind this divorce. The worst part was how his family treated me during the proceedings. Patricia and Frank acted like I was some kind of monster who destroyed their family. They spread rumors around town that I was selfish and cruel and that Michael had no choice but to leave me. Sarah was always cold. I heard Patricia telling someone at the grocery store, Michael tried so hard to make that marriage work, but she just couldn't put family first. The irony wasn't lost on me that they were saying I couldn't put family first when I was the one who'd chosen to prioritize my marriage over Rebecca's demands. But the truth started coming out during the divorce proceedings when my lawyer subpoenaed Michael's phone records and discovered months of text messages between him and Rebecca planning how to pressure me into surrogacy. The messages were damning. Rebecca had coached Michael on what to say to me, how to make me feel guilty, even suggested he threatened divorce if I didn't come around. One particularly awful message from Rebecca said, if Sarah really loved you, she'd do this for us. Make your choice. When Linda presented these messages in court, Michael's lawyer tried to claim they were taken out of context, but the pattern was clear. This had been a coordinated campaign to manipulate me into giving up my bodily autonomy. The judge was not impressed. Mr. Morrison, she said sternly, it appears your decision to seek divorce was influenced by a third party's desire to manipulate your wife into a surrogacy arrangement. This court does not look favorably on such tactics. In the end, I kept my bakery, and Michael got basically nothing except the debt from his lawyer fees. The judge ruled that since the business was established before our marriage, and I could prove I'd done all the work to grow it, Michael had no claim to it. But the victory felt hollow because I'd lost my marriage and discovered that the man I'd loved was capable of betraying me so completely for his sister's benefit. 6 months after the divorce was final, I heard through mutual friends that Rebecca and David had split up. Apparently, the stress of their fertility struggles and the drama they'd caused in my marriage had destroyed their relationship too. Rebecca moved back in with Michael's parents while David moved across the country for a new job. I felt a moment of sympathy for her despite everything, until I heard she'd been telling people that I'd ruined her marriage by refusing to help her have a baby. Even in the destruction of her own relationship, Rebecca couldn't take responsibility for her actions. It was still somehow my fault for not giving her what she wanted. Michael tried to reach out to me a few times after the divorce was final, but I had nothing to say to him. He'd made his choice when he decided his sister's wants were more important than his wife's well-being. The last time he called, he actually had the nerve to ask if I'd reconsider the surrogacy now that we were divorced. Rebecca's still hoping, he said, and since we're not married anymore, it wouldn't affect our relationship. I hung up on him a year later. My bakery is thriving and I'm dating someone new. James is a kind man who can't believe anyone would think they have the right to volunteer someone else's body for 9 months. When I told him the whole story, he was outraged on my behalf. Your ex-husband basically pimped you out to his sister, he said bluntly. And when you said no, he punished you by trying to take your business. It's nice to be with someone who sees the situation clearly instead of trying to make excuses for inexcusable behavior. I heard recently that Rebecca finally did have a baby through a professional surrogate that she and her new boyfriend paid for properly. I'm happy for her that she got what she wanted, but I'll never forgive her for the way she tried to get it. Sometimes people ask me if I regret not helping her, and the answer is always no. What Rebecca and Michael did to me taught me that some people will sacrifice anyone and anything to get what they want, including family members who are supposed to love and protect you. I learned that saying no to unreasonable demands isn't selfish. It's self-preservation, and that anyone who punishes you for setting boundaries was never really on your side to begin with. My body, my choice, and my business, my rules. And any family that can't respect those basic principles isn't really family at all. Story 4. No one from my family showed up because I married my sister's crush. My sister and my husband went to college together. She had a crush on him from day one. He was all she talked about. They became part of a very close group of friends, and that same year, she invited him and her friends to spend Boxing Day with my family. That's where I met him. We had that same night, and I felt horrible. My sister eventually moved on. She met her husband, and she got married last summer. During all these years, my husband and I met sporadically, and one of the times he told me he loved me. But what could we have done? We tried to date others, and I tried to forget him, but I couldn't imagine myself with anyone else. That made my relationships short and loveless. We met again officially at my sister's wedding. She had invited all her college friends. My husband and I met, and he asked me to stop running away, and we started dating secretly. A year later, he proposed. Now, I had to tell my family I have never endured so much hate and isolation in my entire life. I lied to them. I told them that we met at my sister's wedding and we hit it off. I never told them how I've been in love with him for almost a decade, and that we have met at least once a year since that. Christmas, and they've been the best days of my life. My sister is happily married, and she just had her baby. Still, she told me she hated me and never wanted anything to do with me. My family shared the same sentiment that I'm a horrible person. My husband told me he didn't care about a wedding if my family not showing up would hurt me. We have wasted many years, and we didn't choose to fall for each other. He wanted me to be his wife. I still sent invitations to my family, but nobody showed up, only my friends and my husband's family. I wish they could forgive me for finally choosing my happiness. Edit to add, I'm getting a lot of questions about telling the whole story. I don't know what more I should have written here other than this. Maybe I didn't do a good job discussing my sister's crush. My sister is outgoing and always open with her thoughts and feelings. So her crush on my husband was well known to us sisters and our mother, and it was known for the longest time. That's why if they had known about me and him going back longer than what I've said, believe me, they would have confronted me a long time ago, given their strong reaction after I told them. Even after all these years, they wouldn't be silent if they knew something was happening. Also, they were really shocked and felt that I betrayed my sister and hurt her feelings because he's an old crush and we don't date each other's crushes, let alone marry them. 2. I misjudged my sister's crush. We all knew she was in love and that she was hurt when he didn't reciprocate. But I thought by the time she met her husband, she was over him. Now I'm not sure. 3. I haven't spoken to my sister's husband in months, but from what I've heard, he's not happy about her reaction, and things aren't going so well with them. This adds to why my family is angry, because I caused the rift between my sister and brother-in-law. 4. New edit. We are 4 sisters. I'm the second oldest, and my sister in question is the youngest. All 4 of us are of similar ages, and closer were anyway than best friends. This adds more because she feels really betrayed. 5. Yes, I have made a post before on relationship advice. I just couldn't find it. 6. Many are saying my sister is here somewhere with her side of the story. Please send me the link because I've been searching since this morning. I really hope I filled all the missing information now. Sorry for not being clear, and I'm sorry this isn't adequate as the full story. Last edit. I'm getting DMS that my post is on TikTok and that my sister is in the comments saying that I lied and that she had, in fact, dated my husband for 5 years. Where is this comment? I'm overwhelmed with the number of replies and DMS, so if some kind soul could just tag me in her comments, there's no truth to that. It's either a troll or some other OP, because all the people who said my sister has responded are refusing to show me her post anyway. I'm going to send an email to my family tonight and include the complete truth. It's my last attempt at redemption. If they still don't want anything to do with me, I will leave them be, move on with my life, and try to find solace in my new family. Thank you all for listening. Update. Hi everyone. I thought I could make an update about my post, since I received a lot of advice about coming clean to my family, about when and how I started dating my husband. Sorry, it's very long, but at least nobody can complain that I've left out some details. But before that, I want to clarify a few points. If you want the update, skip 2 paragraphs. My sister has not written any posts about her side of the story. I got a lot of abusive DMs yesterday from people who pretend to have talked to my sister about how she was dating my husband for 5 years. Not only an unanswered crush, and yet nobody could or would send me the post. One Redditor sent me something from Aida about a lady whose daughter made an ultimatum about her choosing one of her grandchildren. That's not me. I don't have children. I only ever have written one post about this before, and it was when I sent the wedding invitations, and my family said they wouldn't come. Of course, there will always be people who doubt my story. I always see at least 10 comments on every post ever written here about it being fake. Why are you people like this? To those people, I have only one thing to say. I don't give a fuchsia. Also, many asked about the full story, because my mother's reaction was so strong. I've tried to explain it in the comments. My sister is the youngest and everyone's favorite. Her crush on my husband was well known, and when he didn't reciprocate her feelings, my mom was very hurt for her. As for the rest, you just follow what mom says. Since she's the matriarch of the family, I would have understood their reaction if they knew the whole truth, because I will never forgive myself for what I did. My only comfort is that before we spent that night together, my husband told me that he never liked my sister that way, and he wouldn't be with her whether I was with him or not. He kept saying that, and he saw her as a sister even later throughout the years. Now to the update. As I mentioned, many of you suggested that I should come clean, and there are pros and cons. Pros, it's the right thing to do. And if my sister wants to hate me, she has the right to know the full extent of my betrayal. I will never pretend what I did back then was right. I just fell for him. Is that a good enough excuse? And seeing that I still love him so many years later, it was real from the beginning. Cons. It would probably hurt my sister even more and likely jeopardize her marriage even further if it turns out she's still hung up over my husband. So I wrote a long email to my mother, telling her everything and asking what I should do. I texted her to go read it. That was last night. This morning she called me and was so cold. She didn't ask how I've been, didn't congratulate me, didn't ask about my husband. She was direct and warned me against telling my sister anything. She said that my brother-in-law has moved out from their home and is asking for a divorce. So if I told my sister everything now, it will only make it worse for her. She said that I'm not allowed to contact my sister in any way and for any reason. I should leave her alone and move on with my life. He said she couldn't believe her eyes when she read my email and how horrible I actually have been towards my sister, worse than I thought. My mom's coldness made me understand how much I've hurt my family. I apologized for everything. I apologized to my sister and for breaking our family. She said, "Is there anything else?" "Fine. Goodbye." Then later, My oldest sister called me. She has always been the gentlest, and she told me that she missed me, and that Mom told her everything. The separation between my little sister and her husband is serious. They have been fighting for months now, and he left on my wedding day because my sister was very angry and crying all day. My big sister said that they didn't want to bother me with these details during my honeymoon. I asked her if she was angry at me, and she said that none of them actually is, maybe except my little sister, but that I should give it time. I've talked to my husband now about everything, and I asked him if we have messed up. He just comforted me and told me to be patient. But I don't know. Our marriage started with hardship and at the cost of one of my favorite people and her husband. I'm so sorry. Update. I have had lunch with my brother-in-law today. Good evening, everyone. I thought I might make a new update now, but I don't think it's important enough to put it on True Off my chest and bother everyone, so I will put it here on my page. Any of you who are asking for more updates will see it hopefully. My brother-in-law texted me yesterday asking to see me. I agreed because I wanted to understand what he's thinking and if I could help in any way. When we met, he looked tired and miserable. He had my niece with him. I broke down crying because I hadn't seen her before. I wasn't sure if I could ask to hold her, but he didn't even hesitate to place her in my arms. She is the spitting image of my little sister, so beautiful. He asked me to tell him everything, and to be honest, when I finished my story, he told me that he never liked my husband, or rather never liked his wife's obsession with him. He said she always talked about him, followed him closely on SM, and automatically hated every woman he dated. My sister never really was in contact with my husband, and she never called, texted, or DM'd him, but she watched him closely. She commented when he gained weight or lost weight, grew a beard or gained muscles, and all while her husband was displeased and showed how uncomfortable he was with it. He asked her not to invite him to the wedding, but she insisted on it. Now he said she was yelling that it was her fault that we met each other because she invited him. She should have listened to her. Husband. So now he had enough. And unfortunately, he can't see a way back. He cried and told me he feels like he's letting his baby down. And I cried so much for all three of them because I felt guilty too. I don't understand why she's doing this. He had an amazing husband who adored her, and a baby she had dreamed about since we were teenagers. I asked him if he could just give her time to come out of her grief, but he just shook his head. Afterwards, he congratulated me, wished me good luck, and left with my niece. I emailed Mom everything. Maybe she could help my sister. I haven't got any answer yet. Story 5. Came home early and overheard my girlfriend bragging about cheating on me, so I left without saying a word. Now she's desperately trying to find me, but I blocked her. At 38, I just found out my girlfriend, 36 of 5 years, cheated on me. And I found out in the worst way. Just some background info on me. I've never been married, nor do I have any kids. It's not that I don't want either. Life just hasn't had those plans for me yet, I guess. Anyway, to the story. Friday after work, I left to go on a weekend trip with the guys to one of my buddies' cabins on the lake. Nothing too crazy. Fishing, drinking games, just good old fun. Usually we do these trips about every 3 months to get time to ourselves and give our significant others a break from us. I usually stay through the entire weekend and just leave from there to go to work on Monday morning. However, this weekend I left my laptop in the office room and forgot to grab it. So around 4 p.m. I started to head home, figuring I'd be there by 6 hours. Rachel wouldn't have eaten by then, so I called in an order at our favorite Italian place, stopped and picked it up, and headed to the house. I walked in, and everything seemed normal. I could hear Rachel laughing in the kitchen, so I figured I'd just walk in and surprise her as I got closer. I started to overhear the conversation she was having on the phone, and in an instant, my life was shattered. I assumed she was talking to her sister or maybe one of her friends, but the conversation basically went like this. Last night was just amazing. He was such a considerate lover. I'm telling you, I've never had anything like it. We met on Tinder, and he took me out last night. By the time we made it through the door, we barely made it to the sofa. Oh God. Big. I'll definitely be taking him for a test drive again. After that line, I just dropped the food on the floor. Rachel heard it and turned around. By that time, I already had tears welling up in my eyes. She hung up the phone and tried to get to me, but I just pushed her off, went up to the office, grabbed my laptop, and left. Rachel has been hysterically texting and calling for the past 4 days, and I haven't answered one. I'm staying at a motel a couple of towns over, so I doubt she will be able to find me. My buddies and mom have called as Rachel has frantically been trying to locate me, but I've assured everyone I'm okay, and there is nothing to worry about. My life has been ruined by a stupid phone call. I really thought this was the girl I was going to spend the rest of my life with. I'm an only child, and my mom keeps reminding me she wants grandkids. I had planned on proposing this year on the 4th of July, as it would be our 6-year anniversary. I've already got the ring, and my buddy and his wife already know about the plan, as they are the ones who set us up and hosted the 4th of July cookouts. Any advice from you on here would be appreciated. This is the first time I've dealt with infidelity in any relationship. I'm really just broken at this point. Do I contact Rachel? Should I hear her out? After that phone call, the thought of her just makes me sick to my stomach. Traditional band 723. She was bragging about cheating on you. You will never forget what you heard. Time to move on. Boston Dana, 22. To add to this, she showed you who she is. Be glad you learned now and not after being married for many years. Bushy Boy, 1973. You've already heard everything from her you need. Don't look back. Best case scenario, arrange for your friends to collect your things and never speak to her again. The only closure to be had in this is from her side. Never give her a chance to apologize. Don't talk to her friends. Or if your mutuals try to give you a message from her, ghost them too. Make a post to social media explaining what happened. Tag her. My name is not Chuck. You probably can't imagine doing this to her. You will want to try and understand and fix things. You'll try to be a pick-me. Make it loud in public so you can't go back. You dodged a bullet. Trust me. I found out this past year that half my life is a lie. After 27 years together with 3 kids, my wife cheated on me multiple times over those years. I had an opportunity to leave her the first year we dated, when I found out she probably cheated on me. But I tried to understand and fix things. Don't be me. I've had a very stressful week, and while I did not feel up to replying to anyone's posts, I want you all to know that I read them and your words helped me through the week. This has been a devastating event for me, and each and every one of you that commented or reached out through chat brightened my day just a tiny bit. With that said, here is the most recent update. Last Friday night, after my buddies got to the hotel, I explained what I had heard on the phone call. All 3 of them were stunned, to say the least. They asked if I had seen any signs of this, and to be honest, I really hadn't. I said I didn't know what I was going to do. I informed my one buddy that the proposal was off, and given the circumstances. He completely understood. One thing I had my buddies do when they left their houses was turn off tracking in case their significant others were checking. Getting back to Rachel. I know she is close with one of the wives, but at this point, I didn't want to take any chances. That night we spent the night at the hotel bar, and spun pretty hard. Shot after shot after shot. It wasn't pretty. My buddies were getting calls all night from their significant others asking where they were, and to their credit, they stood their ground and backed me up, just saying that we were safe and not to worry. One asked to speak with me, assuming they knew where we were, but I didn't want to talk to her. She kept saying, Rachel is worried and just wants me to come home. I just told my buddy to deal with it, and I'll fill them in another time. I spent most of the night hitting on the bartender, which I'm not proud of, and a couple of girls who are traveling for work the next day. I thank them all for spending time with me, and they took off back home. This week, I had one of my buddies scope out the house we were renting as it was on his way to work, and he gets to work after Rachel and I would have already left for the day. Rachel had taken Monday and Tuesday off, but went back to work on Wednesday. As soon as he informed me of this, I went to the house and started packing as much stuff as I could. The house was a mess. Dishes in the sink, clothes lying everywhere, trash full of takeout, and ordered food. It took me about 3 and 2 hours to get all my crap out. Before I left, I cleaned up for Rachel as a final gesture. That afternoon and evening, I got flooded by Rachel with calls and texts after she realized that I had come home and gotten all of my things. So for now, I'm staying at my mother's house until I can find a place of my own this fall. I spoke with a landlord, and without Rachel's signature, he won't remove me from the lease, meaning I will have to cover my half of it until October. Story 6. Wife left me when I was caring for my dying father. But when he made me a millionaire in his will, she came back crawling. I'm 36M, married for 8 years with 2 children. Along with this, I'm the only son of my ailing father. You see, my dad is suffering from kidney problems for many years now, but in the last 2-3 years, his condition has worsened, and he has to go for dialysis twice a week. Earlier, he was able to commute on his own, but over the last year, he often asked me to accompany him. He is also growing weaker every day. Now I've made a routine for myself that I would be taking my father for dialysis every time. I don't want to leave him alone in this condition. He has to go for dialysis 2 days a week, so I have fixed Saturday and Wednesday. Saturday is my week off, so it's not a concern. For Wednesday, I got permission from my boss to leave early and then compensate for the remaining hours' work in the night after returning home from the dialysis. I've been working in this company for 10 years. My boss has seen me as a hard-working and loyal employee, so granting this special permission wasn't a big deal for him. However, the problem was at home with my wife, Avril, 34F, when she got to know that I would be taking my dad for dialysis twice a week. She got upset. She didn't like it when I used to take him occasionally, but she never expressed her displeasure up front. Now that I had taken up the responsibility diligently, she could not stop herself. She said that there's no point wasting my time on my father because whatever I do, he was never going to be impressed by me. Well, here's a little context to this. My dad owned a merchandising business. He was quite well off and had acquired decent wealth. He wanted me to take over his business, but I was passionate about something else. I wanted to get into technology. I was enthusiastic about coding and creating software. So after school, when Dad wanted me to take up some business or management courses, I took up a software degree. He was still fine with that until I was willing to join his company. However, after completing my graduation, I started working for a renowned tech firm. Dad wasn't happy that instead of taking forward his legacy, I was working for someone else. He kept asking me to join his business, and I kept stalling it. After my marriage, Dad asked me the final time if I wanted to join, and I said no. Dad got furious and said he would give all his wealth to the charity and I wouldn't get a penny. I still didn't budge from my decision. You see, I was earning well even at that age. I bought a car in my own house at the age of 29. I was pretty confident that I would be able to lead a decent life even without his wealth. I told him that I didn't need his money and could build wealth on my own. Our relationship soured after that point. 5 years back, Mom passed away due to cardiac arrest. It was devastating for Dad. You see, I moved out of the house at 17 for my college. Then I got a job and I started living on my own. The only companion Dad had was Mom, and losing her was the most devastating thing for him. That's when our bond rejuvenated. I started visiting him often and used to take my kids to play with him. Eventually, he stepped down from his company and gave it to a trust to run. My wife, Avril, was never close to my parents until my mother was here. Avril used to avoid visiting my parents, saying that my mother was too nosy in our lives and they didn't get along with each other. When my father announced that he would remove me from his will, Avril started openly criticizing my parents for being mean and evil. I insisted she stay away from my relationship with my parents, but she always stepped in and said it was something that was going to affect our future, especially our children's. I assured her that ours and our children's future are secure irrespective of Dad's wealth, but she was not willing to understand that. Now, coming to the current situation, Avril created a fuss when she got to know that I would be accompanying Dad for dialysis twice a week. Initially, I tried to make her understand that Dad had no one but me. He has lost his parents long back. Though he has an elder brother, he lives in the other end of the city and rarely visits Dad. Dad has become very lonely after Mom's demise, and in this condition, I cannot abandon him. But my wife refuses to understand this. Of late, she had made my life miserable. Every Saturday she comes up with some plans. Either it is hosting a party at the house, deep cleaning the house, outing with the children, or as stupid as grocery pickup. I made her understand that she can plan anything she wants on Sundays, because on Saturdays, I have to take Dad for dialysis. But she continues with her plans, and then later rebukes me for being later missing it. I had to rush to my dad to pick him up, then take him to the dialysis center. And after it was done, I dropped him and ran back home to her sarcasm and tantrums. It is not just about Saturday. She does the same for Wednesday evening. I had committed to my boss that I would compensate for the remaining work late in the evening or in the night after returning from the dialysis. But she always had a plan to trouble me. Almost every Wednesday evening she would go out either to meet her family, her long-lost friends, or to attend some random party, leaving the children's responsibility to me. I had to juggle my work, cook for the children, feed the younger one, and meanwhile, complete my pending tasks in my workplace. This was after a hectic day at work and at the dialysis center. I know it's getting long, but this is how miserable my condition is. Many times my dad suggested that I let him go to the center with a nurse because he sees me always in a hurry, intense looking at my watch. After dropping him home, I don't even wait for a second and rush back. Even while picking up, I ask him to be ready and come outside before I arrive. Dad has a full-time nurse and a caretaker to take care of him, but I still feel bad for not spending time with him. The drive from his house to the center is 30 minutes earlier. I used to enjoy chatting with him during that drive about the good old days of children, but as Avro's tantrums have increased, all I'm concerned about is rushing back home. Most of the time, I'm just over-speeding my car in the traffic, taking shortcut lanes, and overtaking other vehicles to cut down the drive time. This is the only time I get to spend with Dad. And I don't want to ruin that or stop it by asking him to go with a nurse. I, too, have some responsibilities as a son. I want. It is just getting worse every day. My wife is not leaving any stone unturned to dissuade me from attending my father. Her point is that it is a lost deal. Dad had already removed me from his will and had given his wealth to charity, so there was no point wasting time and energy on him. I failed to understand her. Do we do everything just for profit and loss? What if someone's parents don't have any wealth or are poor? Do their children abandon them because they have nothing to offer? After listening to her tantrums for so many months, I finally told her that she was not going to inherit anything from her parents. So why does she visit them every now and then? Oh my God. She lost her SAT at this and said, "My parents did a lot more than your greedy father. They supported me in everything. They are not like your father who disowned you for not joining his business. My father would have never done that to me. So don't you dare compare my parents to yours." It was not just once. This type of argument is becoming a norm at my house almost every Wednesday and Saturday after I return from dialysis. Just that it is getting severe and ugly at every instance. Earlier, she used to fight with me alone. Now I see her yelling and shouting at me in front of the children. Not only this, I have heard her bad-mouthing my dad in front of my children and manipulating them against me. And my dad, I heard it and intervene, which again led to an ugly fight between us. Avril's fight has become a routine for me. On the days when she doesn't fight, I feel something is missing, only she becomes more aggressive the next day. I've almost given up on her. Now I don't yell back and answer her. I just ignore her as if she doesn't exist for me. What else should I do? I cannot abandon my father just to please her. I don't care if he has kicked me out of his will. He did so because of my own decision. I refused to join his company. He was forced to give his hard-earned business to the trust. It must have been so disheartening for him. That company was a baby to my dad, and he had to donate it to someone else. He had all the right to disown me because I had hurt him. I sometimes feel that karma is biting me back because I'd hurt my dad. On the other hand, Dad is becoming weaker. He is barely able to walk on his own. He needs support to step him down to the car. To save time, I used to ask him to come outside and drop him outside the house. But now I don't care about being late. I go inside to carefully walk him to the car and then drop him to his bed until he settles down peacefully. He is also having shortness of breath, so I make sure to walk him as slowly as he wants. Also, while driving, I drive carefully so as not to overspeed and increase his heart rate. I don't care about going late to my house because rushing to the house was also not helping. If I anyway have to deal with that evil woman, why not at least keep Dad happy? My casual attitude has worsened the situation. And yesterday, Avril said that I need to choose one of them, either my dad or her. I tried to make her understand that Dad was not going to be with us forever. Seeing his condition, it didn't look like he was going to make it long. She came back with a curt reply. In that case, You need to make your choice carefully. Someone who is going to be with you forever, or someone who is going to die soon. This was so insensitive. I told her, you know what? I better choose my dad than choose you who is so evil and selfish to a dying man. She packed her bags and left. I didn't even stop her. She needed some time to cool off, and I also needed some space from her, in her absence. I'm taking care of the house, my children, dad, and my work. Yet I feel so relieved, so relaxed. Her absence is actually soothing to me. The day before yesterday, she sent me a divorce paper. I was somewhere expecting it, but didn't anticipate it to be coming so soon. I was shocked, but deep down I was happy and relieved. I didn't call her, just signed the papers and sent her back. Surprisingly, she didn't ask for the custody of the children. That was the only clause I was worried about, but she clearly didn't want them. When she received the paper, she called me back, yelling that how could I just sign it without calling her and pleading with her? Funny, right? Her mom snatched the phone and shouted that acted like a man and tried to pacify his wife back into the marriage instead of just signing the papers. It was so funny. Why would I do that? She wanted a divorce and I complied. I was like, it was good for me. I got rid of her without a fuss. I also taunted her that she even abandoned her children and didn't want them. She said I could have all my assets, including my 2 children. She didn't want any of it. Her mother said Avril was still very young and she didn't want the baggage of children on her shoulders. I said, fine by me. I'm glad to have my kids with me. It is a relief for me, no doubt. But I'm worried about my children. They miss their mom, mostly the younger one. When I'm at the office, it is difficult for me to manage all the responsibility alone. But I hope I'll be able to sail through this update too. It's going to be a shorter update. So I shifted to Dad's house along with my children. It is a great move, I must say. Thanks to everyone for the lovely suggestion. It worked out. Moving with Dad was good for all of us. Dad got the company of my children, and they got their grandpa to play with. Dad had a full-time caregiver who was ready to take care of my children on a raise. Why not? Someone to take care of my children under my dad's supervision? The best deal, right? It is such a happy feeling to see Dad playing and laughing with my children and them enjoying themselves with their grandpa. Avril didn't think this to be coming. She wanted to make my life miserable by divorcing me. She thought I would not be able to juggle all the responsibilities together, taking care of the children, my dad, house, and work. But you see, all is set perfectly. I'm definitely having the last laugh. The divorce was the best thing ever. Lowell. Story 7. My wife and I have been virgins even after a year of marriage, so I confided in a friend about it. Now I can barely sleep because my soul's been torn apart. Hosted by you/Thor, a Force celebrity. I, 22M, and my wife, 26F, got married in February 2021. We had a small ceremony due to COVID restrictions, and our honeymoon was canceled due to the same issues. We've been dating for 4 years prior to getting married, and in that time we haven't had intimacy or anything close to it. We've kissed and cuddled and things like that, which was all good and I like doing that, but we've never done anything more. She told me that she was waiting for marriage, which is fine, and I was happy with that, as I have always thought that we'd get married. Fast forward to the wedding day, and I was about to explode from excitement. Firstly, I'm marrying the woman of my dreams. Secondly, we finally get to have sexy time. The wedding itself was really nice. Pretty basic in a small chapel, close family only. Then back to her parents' house for a meal. We then went back to my wife's house and I was ready for it, but she said she was too tired after a long day. I thought, no problem. What's one more day? I wake up the next morning and she's gone out already. No idea what time she left and just a note on the fridge. That was almost a year ago. Every time I've tried to broach the subject, she's either too tired, upset, not in the mood, or some variation of it. She's called me obsessed with intimacy, as I was asking most days at one point. But how can I be obsessed if I've never had it? I've taken her on romantic date nights, and as soon as intimacy is mentioned, she's put off because it should be spontaneous. I tried spontaneously engaging, but she accused me of attempting to assault her, as she didn't give consent prior. I'm so confused. I've grown closer with one of her friends and her younger brother over the last few years, and I was out for a coffee with her during the week when she asked how the bedroom life was going. When I confessed that we had never done anything, she was really shocked. I thought, who wouldn't be shocked about a married couple where they're both still virgins? But no, she was shocked because her friend, my wife, was incredibly promiscuous before she met me and has done all sorts of things with all kinds of different people. She estimated at least 14 lovers that she knows about. This has left me even more confused. Am I just undesirable? Why did she marry me if I'm not attractive? I waited 4 years to get married and have intimacy with a woman that I love, and now I'm still waiting. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Update 1. I sat down with my wife on Sunday. She spent the day at her parents' house on Saturday, which I now realize had ramifications. At first, she was totally unreceptive. I asked that she just listen and let me talk, then to take a few moments to consider her response. She agreed. I talked to her as calmly as I was able to. I told her that I was concerned, that I wanted to love my wife in every way possible, that I married her because I loved all of her, and that I wanted to know what was going on with her. I told her that I knew she had been intimately active in the past, and I wanted to know why they were able to be with her. Holy. But I wasn't. This is incredibly simplified as I talked for almost an hour, and she listened without interrupting. As I talked, she started crying. She didn't sob or break down. She was quiet, and tears rolled down her cheeks. And that honestly made something inside me break, and I began crying too. I don't cry. I haven't cried since I scuffed my knee when I was 7. An exaggeration, but you get the idea. After I finished talking, we sat and looked at each other for some time. I could see she was thinking. She just silently shook her head. At that point, things nearly fell apart as I asked if she wanted me to contact a solicitor on Monday to begin divorce proceedings. She fully broke down. Then she cried so hard, sobbing that she ended up as a ball on the floor. This shocked me. I've never seen her like that. I don't remember doing it, but I ended up on the floor cuddling her while she cried. Then the dam broke, she started talking, and I really don't know what to say other than repeat what she said to me. I've got her permission to type this all out, but I have to keep it vague for reasons that will become obvious. I'll say now that if you're sensitive or are triggered by assault, you should click away now. So her dad, whom I'll call Dave, isn't her real dad. Dave came into her life when she was 7, with her biological dad exiting when she was just 5. I never knew this. I just knew him as her dad. Dave was the perfect dad for years, by her memory. He took her out for ice cream, looked after her when she was sick, spent money on her, bought her nice things, you know, dad stuff. When she was 13 or 14, he began to touch her. His excuse, apparently, was that she was a developing young woman and she was a temptation for all men. So who better than someone that loves her? As you can guess, this developed to him coming to her bed late. At night, when she was in her later teen years, around 16 to 17, he would take her out and allow his friends to have fun with her. One of these friends went around bragging about it, and word got out, and my wife got tarnished with a few nasty monikers that I'll let you imagine. Her friend, the one I had coffee with, heard about it and other conquests through the grapevine. She knew my wife at the time, but they weren't really friends until college, where she tried to ask my wife about it, but my wife shrugged it off. When she was about to head off to university, Dave bought a house around the corner from him for her to live in. This is the house we have been living in for the past few years. He would make regular visits to her here and keep financial control over her bank account and the fact that he owned the house. Dave wasn't happy when my wife met me and insisted that she not sleep with me. Me being a virgin made that sell easier, I guess. He threatened to expose her and to kick her out of the house and cut her off. This continued until our engagement. I actually asked that man for his daughter's hand in marriage, and he acted thrilled. He even gave me an expensive bottle of whiskey to celebrate. Dave promised my wife that he would end the arrangement when we got married, and even gave her a parting gift by transferring the house into her name and giving her a cash present. Safe to say, that didn't happen. He decided that she was too good for me. On our wedding day, he demanded a mouth action offer and told her to come over the following day, which is where she was. He told her whilst he was assaulting her that he wouldn't tolerate another man using her body and that I wasn't allowed to do it with her. After he was done with her, she left and cried all day and even thought about ending herself. When I heard that, I very nearly lost it. I'm not a small guy. I'm 6 feet 3 inches and well built, and I was ready to go around and rip this thing apart. My wife stopped me and continued her swimming. Although some think she was using it as a cover, was legit. She swims daily, and it's her way of coping. The regular visits to her parents' house are for him. There was more, so much more. My heart hurts. Hell, my very soul hurts. I didn't sleep at all last night, and I have this burning anger and hatred. Deep down, I still love her, but my soul feels like it's been torn apart. As soon as she got it all out, I contacted the police who came to the house and took her statement. All of the stuff she said to me and more that I either don't remember or she left out to spare me. She gave names, dates, showed phone records and written evidence from emails, and a secure messenger that Dave insisted she use to chat with him. Everything. He and his wife, my wife's mother, were arrested immediately. I've arranged for her to go to therapy. The first session is this week. That's the update. It's horrible. It's a mess. I'm a mess. My wife is a mess. I'm going to be here for her. I'm going to try and set things right and do whatever I can. We're getting the hell out of this house as soon as we can. I'm looking for rentals at the moment. I have almost enough saved to put a down payment on a new house, but we'll cross that bridge when we're ready. Story 8. My fiancée knew that I was infertile, so she went ahead and smashed my brother. She only told me about it right when my pen was on the birth certificate. So to make things better, she married him, and she's now blaming me for their family falling apart. Hosted by you/username 52819101 1JS. I have a niece named Lily. Lily is the result of an affair that my ex-fiancé had with my brother while we were still together. I was LED to believe Lily was mine throughout the entire pregnancy and almost signed her birth certificate before my ex confessed out of guilt that Lily was probably my brother's. We did a DNA test, and Lily wasn't mine. During my teens, I got into an accident that left me infertile. The doctor said my chances of fathering a child were slim to non-existent. So you can imagine how crushed I felt when I discovered that not only was I not going to be a father, but I was also betrayed by 2 people I loved. It's been years since, and I did well for myself. I'm the first in my family to attend university, and I landed a high-paying job right after graduation. I own my own business and invest in property. And since I'm both single and childless, I can spend my income however I please. My ex ended up marrying my brother. I'm somewhat cordial towards them, but I can't bring myself to fully forgive them for what they did. And although I know Lily is blameless, whenever I see her, I'm constantly reminded of how I was once overjoyed with holding her in the hospital, thinking she was mine. So I can't bear to look at her for too long. I didn't visit her growing up, take her on fun trips, or give her lavish gifts like I did for the rest of my nieces and nephews. I wasn't mean or hateful to her, but I will admit I kept my distance. When my oldest nephew turned 18, I decided that I would pay for his college education since I could afford it while his parents couldn't. I even rented him one of my apartments for cheap so he wouldn't have to worry about money and could focus on getting his education. Since then, I have done the same thing for 2 of my other nieces. Last week, Lily approached me during a family event and inquired if I could pay for her education. I told her no. She then called me a jerk and asked why I was so distant towards her and her parents, to the point where I couldn't even do her the same favor I did for the rest of her cousins. I told her that her parents have enough money to afford her education and asked her how she could possibly expect me to be okay with watching my ex and brother, who had an affair behind my back, play happy family in front of me. After that, Lily got quiet for the rest of the event and left early. I later got a call from my ex yelling at me for ruining her family. Apparently, she and my brother didn't bother telling Lily about what they did to me all those years ago. And now that she knows, she is so angry at them that she decided to go live with her boyfriend's family. I'm starting to feel guilty that I told her the truth, since it affected her more than I thought it would. But at the same time, she has grown enough to know the truth, and I don't think I could have lied to her face even if I wanted to. Am I in the wrong update? One for those asking why it was so hard for me to look at Lily all those years. Here are a couple of reasons to sum it up. 1. My ex and I began dating when we were 13 and broke up when we were 24, so that's 11 years. She knew about my infertility issues and how much I wanted to be a dad. and she still LED me to believe the baby was mine. 2. I named Lily when she was born since I always liked the name and wanted to name my daughter that. My ex didn't change her name even after it was discovered. She wasn't mine. 3. My brother and I look alike. Lily looks like my brother, and as a result, she also looks a lot like me. If my ex hadn't told me back then, and I wasn't her father, I wouldn't have suspected a thing. 4. Having to witness a child that looks like me, has the name I chose, and was being raised by the woman I loved for so long, all the while being infertile, really made it impossible for me to be an active part of Lily's life like I was for her cousins. Not out of resentment toward her, but for the sake of my mental health, I decided to listen to some of your advice and text Lily. I asked her if she would like to meet up and have a conversation about all that went on, since, like you said, she does deserve some answers. She hasn't replied yet. If she does, I'll update too. I met up with Lily yesterday. I told her about my relationship with her mother, how and when it started, and went into detail about the accident I went through, the cheating, and her birth. I got over everything she asked me about. In turn, she told me everything her parents told her about me growing up. Apparently, she was told that around the time she was born, I had a miracle baby named Lily that died at the hospital, and since she and her share the same name, I held some sort of resentment towards her. I am still processing what she told me. I feel like it's such a twisted retelling of what actually happened that it's insulting. Needless to say, there was a lot of crying involved, and we apologized to each other. Lily said she's doing better now that she knows the truth, and that her boyfriend and his family have been an amazing support to her throughout all this. My family decided to officially cut off any contact with my ex and brother. Now that Lily is an adult, there is no need to also invite them along so they can see her. For those asking me if I go to therapy, yes, I do. My therapist was the one who suggested I distance myself from Lily and her parents all those years ago, and honestly, it did do wonders for my mental health. So I can't say I regret that decision. I was suicidal back then, and I don't think regular contact with them would have possibly done me any good. I decided that I'd try my best to be more involved in Lily's life now that I don't have to interact with her parents in order to meet up with her. Lily agreed and said she also wanted to get to know me better. Overall, this whole incident opened up a lot of old wounds, but I'm glad it happened. It needed to happen. All I can say is that I hope that both Lily and I will probably heal from this and move on with our lives. Relevant comments. God, imagine the way that girl's heart must have just plunged right down into her stomach when she inadvertently learned the truth. Can imagine. Had a similar experience learning my dad didn't just die, but was suicide. All of a sudden, all the shit in your life that doesn't make sense just effing clicks. Makes you question your relationship with everyone that didn't tell you. My grandma on my dad's side slept with my dad's uncle, so he grew up getting the living crap beat out of him every day by the person who he thought was his dad. We visited his family once, the bio dad and others who were left behind in a divorce. They were extremely wealthy and had the same unusual food allergy my dad did. When he caught it a few weeks later, he just ignored everything. Well, turns out his younger sister, my aunt, isn't even the legit child of my now grandpa. Everyone knows but her. She's 30 and has never had to pay a single bill and gets a new car every year to make up for her not having a real dad. Pretty messed up when you meet a 35-year-old who is still mentally a teenager. It's easier to lie and cover their own behinds than admit the truth. Considering how Lily's reacting to knowing the whole truth, my guess is they had a feeling this was how she'd react and didn't want to face it. It helps ease the guilt of what they did and helps preserve their little fantasy world, where what they did wasn't that bad. It is another level of selfish to go after your BF's brother, then lie about a child. Yet they found the next one with a dead baby story. Yuck. Glad the family could finally cut off the post. Brother and ex. I get it for Lily's sake, but I'm still so mixed about that. They did cut them off originally too. In a comment OP made on the original post, he said they essentially cut ties for 2 years, but then they were sort of forced to bring them back in, otherwise they would never get to see Lily. The aunts, uncles, and grandparents wanted a relationship with their niece-granddaughter, even though the entire situation was crappy. As for not telling Lily the truth, I doubt they ever had a reason to. OP was standoffish to Lily, and Lily was aware that there was a reason he was that way with her. Other family members observing this dynamic might have asked the parents if Lily knew, and they just said she did. Lily didn't pursue a relationship with her uncle because of the lie, but to the rest of the family it could have just been assumed that Lily knew the truth. It's not like they were going to have a conversation with her about why she didn't have a relationship with OP. There wasn't one, and everyone understood why. Assuming Lily understood as well based on the way she seemingly accepted the whole thing. Then it blew up. The family found out the truth since Lily was finally 18. The lie gave them enough reason to cut the parents off for good, since they didn't have to worry about losing contact with Lily.